going to be about drawing pixel sunglasses. So we're going to find an image online, drag it into SketchUp, and then draw it. And this is going to be considered drawing. All right, so here we go. If you haven't already, Command Spacebar to launch SketchUp. So here I am in SketchUp, and if you have the issue like I'm having right now where you don't see anything, Command N will bring up a new file. Let's save it before we get too far. Go to File, Save As. Under the Documents folder, choose your name, 3D Projects, and again, just because you see this doesn't mean you are under your folder. You could be under another student's folder, so you might want to double check there. Sunglasses Rev A. Click Save. Resizing my window. Command A, I don't need this lady. And Command S, if I do frequently, will save it. And the reason you might want to do that is because it's very frustrating if your program crashes and you lose all that you did. Now, in a Chrome window, now you don't have to be logged into Drive for this, but type Pixel Sunglasses spelled the exact same way as I have it, because I want everybody doing the same one I have. If you find this image, click it to expand it, and do a Control click and Open Image in New Tab. Now notice where I'm clicking. I'm clicking on the image to fan it out, Control click, looking for the words Open Image in New Tab, click it, and then you'll see a tab pop up. Make sure that you're using wise searches, being safe, and not Googling anything that you think will bring up inappropriate for school results. I can do a Control click here. I'm going to choose Save Image As. The reason I'm going about it this way is I don't want a very small image that won't display nicely. Now, I don't want this to save under my Photoshop folder, which is where it assumes I want this. I'm going to go to 3D Projects, and I'm just going to call this Sunglasses. But here's the deal. This is the JPEG, which is a name of a file type. You'll see it pop open like that. And a little tip, because it shows you this, you can always click that and choose Show in Finder. That's a nice way to find something quickly. If you didn't go about it that way, you can minimize your window, and you can always open up a new Finder window, go to the Documents, find your name, find 3D Projects, and where you place that. Now by this point, we got a lot of stuff going on. It might not be a bad idea to do some cleanup later on, and here's what I mean by that. Notice that there's the most with the words My Name. If I created a folder with my name in it, created a folder called 3D Basics, instead of having to view so many different files and subfolders, you could really cut down on the amount of junk you see. So optionally, if you want, you can do that. I will make it mandatory sometime. So optionally, if you want to get organized, you may. So, okay, let's see. I'm viewing the sunglasses JPEG, and hopefully I can drag this right into SketchUp. Now here's where a lot of you guys end up throwing a window to the side, but what I want to encourage you to do is that instead of throwing your window to the side, do the bottom right corner and pull the window back a little bit so that it's still sized the way you want to, but then you can see your Finder window and this window at the same time without having to have things all over the place. I'll do a click and drag, and I patiently wait until I see the plus sign, and I release. Even though you might think it's not working, it probably is, because if I move the mouse, I can now click on the origin, pull that over, and see that I've dragged and dropped this where I need it to be. Notice that it's not sitting up in like a vertical direction. Like that. You always want to be dropping this and working in this red and green area. So again, that time I shrunk the window down, but I also could have just Command tabbed so that I can view this at the same time, drag and drop this in, and do a little bit of click action and work about it there. Command Z is your friend. So revisiting this little setup, we found an image online. You Googled it the exact same way I did. You dragged it, you saved it. It was probably quick, so hopefully you were pausing it and repeating things as you needed. And now we've dragged it into SketchUp. So now let's draw this. But we're going to draw this with being considerate. So I'm orbiting, zooming back, zooming in to where I get this window the way I wanted. Now inconsiderate drawing would be like this. Notice that when I was so far away, I couldn't even click at this black corner. The further away, the more difficult it will be for me to view and draw. So I'm going to zoom way, way, way in, and I'm going to make sure that I'm on the face of the image before I start drawing. If it's not, I might end up being like floating in space for all I know, to where that line might be where I need it, but it might not be. The other thing you want to be careful for is as you do draw, if you get a little bit misaligned, don't just keep on trying to make something that's broke work. Hit that undo button and it'll go back a single step to fix it. This should be new and it should be intimidating, and that's fine. So I clicked my first location, I'm zooming out, maybe I get way down here to the opposite end. Now I'm not going beyond, I can, but I want to click and try to get as close as possible, making sure that I'm seeing the colors red and the colors green, so that these are drawn on this surface. And not floating in space. Because later on I might remove my image temporarily and I'd find out, whoops, I didn't know I did that. Also, if you delete your image, you probably want to get it back, because if you delete your image, when we dragged it in, we didn't size it perfectly. We kind of let the computer decide its dimensions and just randomly stopped. So you can go ahead and pause this video if you need time to draw, make this neat, but you can probably pick up the pace a little bit on this project because, like I said, nobody's printing these ones. This is just for practice. That is not the real bell, by the way. Don't get like running up and packing up for class. Okay, now I've just finished sketching this, but if you look, I was a little bit urgent there at the end, and I lost my closed-in part. So I temporarily delete my image, and then bring it back and see where my issue is. Undo it to bring the whole deal forward. And a simple fix for this would be to erase this line, use my corner from earlier, make sure I get a green line, and get rid of that. So by the end of this part of the video, you should have the sunglasses neatly drawn. Now, this is revision A. And I move this, so it's having a little bit of a problem with me. So maybe I go to Save As, and I track down my name again, and so on, and so on. And let's see, Rev A. Now this time, it's going to ask me to replace it, but that's because I did this a little slightly different. Now I want you to go to File, Save, make sure you get this backed up, but I want you to save it again, and change it to Rev B, and in parentheses put 3D. Now the reason for that is because we're going to go from 2 to 3 dimensions, and it would be really nice to be able to get back our work and not lose it from the other one. Okay, now I'm going to grab this whole thing. Now I'm going to hit Command A, Command C for copy, Command V for paste. Now I could attach it here, but there might be times where we're going to push it a little bit over, but for this problem and this project, it's not an issue. Now here's the deal though. Because it's shaded in gray, I can't see what's going on in my image. So I'm going to zoom on in. This will be my 2-dimensional one, and this will be my, this will end up being my 3-dimensional one. This will be my 2D one. So let's push this up. And I'm going to use the cursor to click on this gray area and erase it. And now I'm going to draw these squares. But the cool thing is, they are squares for the most part, so I could use a rectangle and copy these and paste these as I go. Now if you're not totally sure what I'm doing there, then maybe just go ahead and use the pencil tool, because I'm going to talk about this at length. Here's me selecting one using the cursor tool, Command-C, Command-V. If I paste it unattached to anything, then I can really just choose an endpoint as I go to the Move tool. But the cool thing is, as you copy these and paste these, it assumes you might want to move it. So I Command-C, Command-V a new one. Oh, that endpoint's not helpful. Those should be totally connected because it's dependent on the width of the other guy. Do you notice what just happened there? Do you see how I tried to grab it? Well, there it's only grabbing a corner, so it's going in crazy. So if you have something like that going, just click on the whole item again and move it over. So let's see. I can also reuse this because it's the exact same. Notice how I did a click and drag there. Notice how I'm doing it in certain directions though. A click and drag from the left down, that'll help me copy it without all the other random lines. And then I can move this, and that should look pretty darn good. Here's where it gets a little strange. You ready? If it already hasn't. I'm going to delete this for a moment. And the reason I'm deleting it for a moment is I can see my background now. Now here, I really don't need my image. That's okay. But maybe I want to keep that top guiding line and be able to move this whole object based on that top left corner. The difference between moving it that way and not is precision. Now I have the choice of either raising these up all to the same height or shrinking it down if I think it might look cool, sunken all the way through. Be patient as you're doing this. This is a test run. Again, that's not your bell, where you're allowed to go through and you're free to mess up on these. So just see if you can re-watch parts of this, seeing what I did, see if you think it looks better see-through, see if you think it looks better raised up, but then save this, and then maybe we'd save it as a revision C if we planned to add a keychain part. But I would suggest putting a keychain part on before you get too deep into this. So again, this was the Pixel Sunglass video. This is quicker. The expectation is that you're rewatching this, making very close observations of how I did certain clicks versus others, and talking to neighbors and friends that seem to be having more successes than you might is a good call, because